Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I have a fat stack of books here. The only reason I was able to get through all of these was because I was reading while I was supposed to be doing something else. Shh, don't tell anyone. We're going to start. I shuffled these, so they are in random order. I don't know what, I don't know. We'll both be surprised. But we're going to start with Damn Them All, issue 4. This series was originally a mini-series that got extended into an ongoing. Issue 4, I say this because I thought it was originally a 5 or 6 issue series, and issue 4 sort of wraps up that story that had been started, mostly not quite, but there are some lingering threads. However, it does kind of wrap it up. So he here is holding a coin. There are 72 basically high-level demons that are summonable. They are, if you're in possession of one of these coins, and by the end of this, she has a mission, sort of. I guess time will tell whether or not she follows through on that or chooses to do something else, but 72 high-level demons have been unleashed on the world, and chaos ensues. One of them winds up in the hands, well, some of them wind up at the hands of do-gooders like this guy. Some of them wind up in the hands of assholes or a criminal, and we see all of that as well. And I'm really enjoying it. There are a ton of words, if you have not figured that out by now. This issue takes longer to read than some other things, but it's fantastic. It's really good. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I recommend it. The Witcher, the Ballad of Two Wolves. So the thing about The Witcher is the novels are sort of twists on familiar stories, right? Sort of Grimm's fairy tales, and this is no exception. This is sort of Red Riding Hood. We have the Witcher coming to a small town that has a werewolf problem. See in there. But there is other things going on, and he's being lied to by practically everyone. So he is somewhat trying to get to the root of it, and somewhat just trying to get the hell out, because he's like, there's nothing for me to kill here. This wolf is not a problem. I do like the beard. I'm very curious to see where this goes. There she is. Art is phenomenal. The writing is quite good. I want to see how the story unfolds. We are halfway through at this point. It's a 4-issue series. This is my first Witcher comic that I'm reading, and I am very much enjoying it. Some of that going on too. I think it's great. Saga 61. This cover is a bit of a lie. It's been a while since I've said that, but these two are on the street asking for money. They are not playing instruments at the time. But, how much of this can I show? Well, if I cut this right, I just skipped over the nakedness. We do get some Lion Cat. Always welcome to see her. This is 6 months, I believe, have passed since the previous issue, and things are not going well for really most people. But it's a continuation of Saga, and I am welcome that it's back. So thankful. I'm thankful that it's back. It's Saga as always. Samurai Doggy issue 3. I honestly thought this book had come out months ago, and I just missed it, and I was kind of okay. I was a little bit disappointed, but I was kind of okay. I thought issue 1 was fantastic. I thought issue 2 was a weird side story that I didn't understand really how it related to the first issue. And then issue 3 is one long fight scene. It doesn't really add anything to the story, so it's really just a strong first issue, and then issues 2 and 3 are okay? I don't know. I guess I'll grab issue 4, see if that tells a story, and if not, then I'll make a decision about whether or not to drop this. But the art's great. It's just there's really no progress on the story since issue 1, which was out quite some time ago. maybe not quite 6 months, but quite some time. Next up, we have the Boogyman issue 5, and I believe this is a 6-issue series. I did take notes for myself personally. I believe this is 6. So things certainly do feel like they're wrapping up. We get, unlike Samurai Doggy, some good story progression. We get some backstory filled in. We get some movement on current events, and things are staged for a climactic showdown next issue. It's, as always, it's sort of minor horror, but there are some monsters, and we have this boy who just wants to be safe, really. He just wants to live and not be chased by monsters. I really hope the dog's okay, even though it doesn't look like it. I got my fingers crossed that the dog comes to the rescue in the end. Anyway, I'm still enjoying this quite a bit. I think it's great. If you're interested in a strange story about monsters saving a boy, then absolutely grab the Boogyman. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue 3. There's a lot of talk in this about walking. Possibly too much talk about walking, but it did make me think of Tolkien and I guess a little bit of Dark Tower. But we get these nice big splash pages, lots of talk about walking, and we do get some elements of our leads bonding. It's really quite enjoyable. Unfortunately, it ends in such a way where things don't look good, and they don't look good for quite some time. So, back in the first issue, we jumped time a bit. So, most of the series takes place, I'll say, in the past. This sort of blue timeline that you're looking at right now. And then at near the end of issue 1, we get a look at some of the characters in the future, and things are not going well for him in particular. We don't know where she is in this time, but it seems like they get separated and then they don't see each other again until he's an old man. And honestly, I don't know if that's true or not, but he is old here, and he talked about not having seen her for quite some time. So I hope it's not as bad as that, but I really want to see more of these characters. I'm very much enjoying the story. The art is phenomenal. I just really enjoy this series. Darkwing Duck issue 1, which is a standout, I think, among the rest of this stack, but I grabbed Gargoyles issue 1 last month, and that was okay. I was curious about Darkwing Duck because I was a fan of both of those series when I was a young lad. But this very much reads like it is aimed at children, and I want to show you one particular scene. I guess this should have told me something. The way these buildings are shaped. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Something happens, and there is this chase that's happening. So we got a car here on the ground, we've got an airship, and in my opinion this is quite close to the ground based on relative size. However, they lose control, and despite being this close to the ground, we get this entire page, 2 pages of action without it crashing. And he loops it around this, I don't know, antenna, definitely out of perspective, lightning rod, perhaps, and saves the ship from crashing by crashing it instead into a pond, whatever. So we get 4 pages of a airplane falling out of the sky, and it's stretched my sense of disbelief, my suspension of disbelief to a breaking point. I don't know. So I won't be grabbing issue 2 of this. It was nice to revisit, but I'm leaving this behind. Human Target issue 11 definitely surprised me because issue 10 came out just 2 weeks ago. I don't know what's happening with the schedule for this, but it is weird. So last issue, Christopher drugs Ice, and then he goes off on an adventure with Nort, and I was expecting some sort of confrontation, her to be mad at him this issue for knocking her out for a day, for ditching her, and that doesn't happen. She does get mad at him, but for different reasons. What I will say here, this also stretches the suspension of disbelief. So they go for a swim, right? Go for a swim. There's all sorts of these text boxes about things that are happening. So there's a mystery at the root of the series, which is what happened, how did he get poisoned, why is he dying, and all of that gets explained here. So I think issue 12 will just be resolution. I was talking a moment ago about the suspension of disbelief, however. So they go to the beach, they go for a swim, they get out of the sight of land, which they bring up here, and then here's where it happens. She just makes them a tiny island out of ice, and like, you can't just lay, and seemingly for hours, on ice. That is a problem. Anyway, there is as I said, confrontation. Not about what I thought it was going to be, but this answers quite a few questions, and now all that's left is resolution. I have no idea with Tom King. I don't know. Based on, I haven't read Vision, but Omega Man, Mr. Miracle, Bat and Cat, I have no idea how this is going to end. None of his stuff seems to be in continuity, however, so as long as it's a good read, I will have a good time. Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise issue 3. Someone at the comic shop asked me if this was good, and I started shaking my head because before I could really answer, I started shaking my head, and I was just trying to find words to describe it, and he took my head shake negatively, but I'm like, no, it's definitely not a book for everyone. I think just looking at the art, people are going to have feelings about this. I find it amazing. I find the story to be incredibly interesting. It's just, it's a very particular kind of story. It is pretty insane what is happening. I definitely know people are not going to like it, but there will be a subset that absolutely love it, and I am in that subset. So I'm having an absolute blast. I did tell him roughly the story, which does get retold here. It was told somewhat in small print last issue, but basically a goddess comes to Doctor Strange, asks him to help deliver her child. He initially rejects that, says no thank you. She says, well, if you don't, your dimension is going to be destroyed. And he says, okay. Issue 1 was basically him trying to reassert that he exists, which is strange, but I found it compelling. Issue 2 lays out a lot of the story, and then issue 3 recaps some of that story. It does move things forward, but there is still plenty of just weird, metaphysical, just insanity going on. What I'd very much like at the end of this is for him to go back to New York and just have maybe even just half a page of some sort of normalcy. Like, all of this insanity for 4 issues, and then at the very end, he gets a call from, I don't know, Captain America or Spider-Man, just some sense to juxtapose the absolute insanity that this has been with some sense of normalcy. And he just goes on and doesn't even mention any of this, just goes out and does some standard superhero stuff. It's I'm having an absolute blast reading this. I think it's phenomenal, and I hope other people are enjoying it as much as I am. The Last Ronin, Lost Years. So the Last Ronin was a larger success than I think IDW was expecting it to be, and as a result, they are, look at these guys. Aren't they great? Last Ronin was a larger success than I think IDW was expecting, and as a result, we are now getting these sort of spin-off, prequel, sequel series, and this is the first of those. I am enjoying it, although if you don't like seeing Ninja Turtles get beat up, maybe this is not the book for you, because this repeats itself later as well. It doesn't, it fills in some of the timeline as far as events leading up to, and then, as I said, following Last Ronin. So this is, I think it's fantastic. And I really want to see more of these new turtles. They are already full of personality. This grumpy one. I very much want to know more about them. See more of them in action. Hope we do get action in the past as well. Look at this beat up face. So I'm enjoying this. If you read Last Ronin, if you want more of that world, there's more to be had. Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. I was also asked about this, and I don't know what to say. I mean, Bruce Campbell, I think, is a fantastic writer. I have not read any of his books, although I do have at least one of them on my wish list. And Riso, I love his work. So it is Nazis, it's zombies, it's war story as drawn by Riso, and the writing is fantastic. I am loving this series. Things actually happen this issue, unlike last issue, which was setting the stage for this attack on Hitler's compound. But look at that. Look at that cover. I love it. Oh. Things happen. This is another one. I'm absolutely loving it. It will conclude next issue, and it should be spectacular. I guess I'm going to end this week on a downer, because Quested issue 2, I'm dropping this. I thought issue 1 was a funny adventure story, and issue 2 is, I don't know. The lead is kind of an asshole. So it's still fun, but it's not, I don't know. I think the joke is wearing thin, and where I wish they would get on with some story, it's just a lot of jokes without moving the story forward. So I'm choosing to bow out of this. But it was a great first issue. Art's still nice. It's the writing that I have a problem with. It's just not going the way I wanted or expected. But if you want it is a fun book, then I can recommend it on that basis. It's obviously fantasy, and there are references to other fantasy characters, very clear, obvious references to other fantasy characters in this. It's just, I'm stepping away. And that is everything that I got this week. I haven't even considered what pick of the week is, so quickly. Oof. I don't know. I'm going to give it to Once Upon a Time. There are a couple of really great scenes in this, some bonding, and it's those quiet moments where maybe I talk a lot about moving a story forward, and yes, while overall I would like that to happen in all of these books, it's usually the quiet moments that really get to me, and there's a really fantastic one in this where the two leads are just sitting around watching cartoons, and I thought it was phenomenal. So for that, Once Upon a Time at the Underworld gets pick of the week in a strong week of comics. This is some good stuff. Doctor Strange, nothing else is quite like Doctor Strange. Human Target is also great. Boogyman, loving it. Pick of the week, though, Once Upon a Time. So that is everything that I got this week. It was a heavy week for me. I think I'm getting almost nothing next week, so I might be strolling around the store picking up some extra stuff. But as just mentioned, I get all of my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.